Welcome to this is episode 25.
Wow.
Quarter of a century.
Yeah.
Wow.
Impressive.
Oh, where's Woohoo? Wow, where's
Oh, yeah, okay. All right. Thank you.
This is gonna be a fun one. We're continuing the cottage vendor, but can you even call Zpacks a cottage vendor anymore?
Yeah,
Yeah. Good.
for sure.
We've got Matt, trail name Details,
Yeah.
coming in. He's the brand manager over at Zpacks. We've been talking to him for a while. He's a super cool dude.
Yeah, he's hiked everywhere.
He's hiked everywhere, and it's the middle of the coronavirus pandemic.
So here's some
And
content
he
for
said
you.
he's in self-quarantine, so we're going to talk to him about that. Let's bring him on. Matt, thank you. Thank you so much for talking to us. I got to ask you.
You've been asking.
I know.
I know.
Well, we have been asking you for a while.
Yeah.
What's the deal with self-quarantine? Is that because you were abroad?
No, actually, my wife works at a hospital in Orlando, and one of the people in her department got diagnosed last night. So it was trying to. I found out this morning, and there was all the facts and everything about it. So I just played it safe today and stayed home.
Okay. We were trying to guess. We thought it might have been because you were traveling abroad.
No,
But that was a while
What's funny
ago.
is, it's like I kind of half was like joking about it, like a little bit, like to try to like ease my own pain.
Yeah.
And so it was like 2 weeks from the day that I returned, I was on the Art Loeb Trail, and like in my head, I was like, I just got to get through Sunday. I just got to get through Sunday, and I was sick. I'm safe. I did it. But I mean, that doesn't. I mean, I could have brought it back and transmitted it. Who the heck knows? It's crazy, obviously, right? But luckily, we came back right before it started getting crazy. But 4 days after we got back, because we stopped in Paris on the way back from Turkey for a day and a half, and like 4 days after we came back from Paris, like they shut the Louvre down, and it was like that's how close we were to this, you know.
I swear we'll get to talking to backpacking, but how is the situation down in Florida, like from a virus standpoint?
I mean, every day we're getting more and more cases, which is the same with a lot of states. I actually just saw that the U.S. passed Italy as the second most cases.
Scoreboard.
We're less than 1,000 away from passing China.
I know, dude. Scoreboard. Yeah. Oh God, it's terrible.
That's awful.
Yeah, make America great again. So I mean, but it's going up. South Florida's really bad. Like Tampa's pretty decent. Orlando, where my wife works in the hospital, is getting more and more cases. There's a couple, I think 3 counties that are on lockdown. Ours is not. Our governor, he literally said the other day, almost, I'm paraphrasing, but it's basically almost exactly what he said. He goes, I don't even understand how you can shut down a state. Like that literally was like his quote.
Well, you can, because we're in it.
Oh yeah, dude, we are in. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, but our people actually observing it. But anyway, so that's what he said. And our county, the county that I live in, is like they literally were just like they disappeared. Like when it started, like nobody was giving any updates. Of like they were like it was like nothing had happened. So we're reassured.
We're in the opposite. We're in complete lockdown. The entire state of Ohio, we got nothing. We literally we're under shelter in place.
Our people
you
actually
just coughed.
Yeah,
you just coughed there.
Sorry. I'm all by myself, right? But are people actually following the orders in Ohio?
So,
yeah, for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, so like the weather in Ohio blows, and today it was 70 degrees and sunny, and it's like that's the first nice day of the year, and people were outside all over today. I mean,
but they were keeping their distance.
They were keeping their distance. So our rules are no gatherings with more than 10 people.
I don't know.
All restaurants are closed. I mean, barbershops are closed. I mean, everything's
Doctor.
closed.
Yeah.
And what do we have any other weird rules? I mean, our governor was one of the first ones to be like, all right, you guys are inside. So Andy and I, like our work, luckily we can both work from home. So, and our wives. So we've been work from home. This is our second full week of work from home. And we're like work from home for the foreseeable future.
It's like June now.
Yeah. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
It is crazy, dude.
Crazy.
We're like living in a movie.
Yeah, our restaurants are closed too. Like a lot of but we're not in shelter in place. But it every morning the commute to work was getting lighter.
Yeah.
It's like it really is. We're like playing out like a slow motion zombie apocalypse kind of.
Yeah.
But without the zombies.
Yeah, us too.
So far.
There's no traffic here.
It's so weird.
And we're allowed to go outside and take walks.
Yeah.
And like
literally the governor's like, you can go out and walk your dog
and you can go take a walk in the park, but keep your distance and no playgrounds, obviously.
Yeah, they closed all the playgrounds. So
I mean that makes
sense.
right.
Yeah.
Which is it's convenient though, like we're people who like to walk. So they didn't take that.
And unlike a lot of states around us, I don't know what Florida's like, but a lot of states around us have shut down all their state parks, and the governor made a point of keeping. Granted, Ohio's got like only a couple, but Ohio's keeping the state parks open, so like we can still backpack. Just have to maintain our social distance.
State parks closed.
Oh, they did.
Parks are closed.
Oh, they said they are closed.
Oh yeah. And so not most of, a decent amount of the Florida Trail goes through state parks or national parks. So what's funny is. So they closed down all the beaches, which the spring breakers ignored.
Yeah, I saw that.
So they did start forcibly enforcing that. So the northern terminus of the Florida Trail ends at Fort Pickens State Park, and it's on the tip of Pensacola Beach. So the park is closed, and if you were going to sneak into the park, you have to do it on the beach. So it's like double illegal to like try to finish a Florida Trail through hike right now.
Wow. Oh, I forgot. I'm still Bluetooth to this thing. Sorry. All right, let's talk about backpacking. Let's talk about something fun. So we start these by and I'm interested for this, a very basic question. Because you've been doing a lot of backpacking, but how did you actually get into backpacking?
So, I mean, I grew up in Florida. I was born in Connecticut, but I grew up in Florida. I spent actually a fair amount of time in the woods, like building forts and just exploring and, doing stuff like that. I would visit my family in Connecticut in the summers. I would do a lot of exploring in the woods up there, but when it comes to actual like hiking, right, like as like a thing to do, like I'm going to go on a hike. So what was it, 13 years ago, a little over 13 years ago, I was on my honeymoon, or was it 12 years ago? But my wife will kill me either way. Who knows? It's been a long time. So we were on our honeymoon. We were in this little town in Canada called Perth, Canada, right? And so quaint little town, and we saw a sign for this trail called the Rideau Trail. And I was like, what is this? And we had like time to spare. So we're like, let's walk down it for 45 minutes, turn around, walk back. And I was like 15 minutes in, I was like, placing international charges, calling my buddy in Florida. I was like, when I get back, we are going hiking. This is what I want to do. I want to be out here on a trail and just walking. And like at that point, I had not slept in a tent since I was like 12. So we're talking, what was that, like 15, 16 years or something like that. Like it wasn't even on my radar. Like, and then so I got back, I started doing sections of the Florida Trail. Because I mean, if you live in Florida, you're basically almost everyone's within an hour of the Florida Trail. Yeah. So it was convenient. And then I did my first trip on the AT. I started, at the falls, climbing up the falls, and I did that, and that's it, man. Every chance I get since then, I've just been at it.
Did your wife get the bug on the honeymoon?
No, no, not really. We've been on a. Hold up, my dog is trying to play with his big ass bone on the tile. Here. Um, no, so yeah, not really. I took her on a trip in the Smokies, like her first like overnight trip.
Yeah.
And we went southbound from Newfound Gap, which is like the middle.
Yeah.
And I just wrecked her. I broke her. Like she cried every day except the first day.
How to not get your wife into backpacking.
Yeah. And then so there's this video I post every year on Facebook when it comes up as my memory of her taking probably 2 minutes to go about 50 yards, the last 50 yards to like before the car, and her knees are just broken and she can barely walk. You know, and I'm encouraging, you know, I'm like, you can do it, you're almost there. But honestly, she didn't walk normal for like 3 months.
Oh, that's funny.
she wrecked her knees, dude, so bad. But that being said, so then in 2015, I did the Tour de Mont Blanc with Joe and our buddy Steve. And you can stay in refuges, and so you're not camping. You get a hot shower, warm meals every night. And so I was like, this is for you, right?
Yeah.
And like, you don't have to carry a tent. You don't have to carry a sleeping bag. You're just carrying some clothes. And so she did that. She killed it. She was a champ. And we did a little, this past July, she did like 50 miles of the Camino, the first 50 miles of the Camino.
Oh, nice.
And she killed that too. So she actually we are actually planning to do the Road of Vicentina in July in Portugal. But
yeah, right.
Yeah,
I know. We another thing I wanted to ask you about and kind of bring up now. We're going. We haven't, I guess, officially talked about this, but we're going to do parts of the Arizona Trail in May. I want to talk to you about that because I know you've been out there. Hey, we don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
You may.
Yeah.
I don't know. I give it. So end of May, I give it 75% as it stands.
No.
You don't think it's that high?
No.
I guess
75% chance of cancellation?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
75%
we just gotta survive the airport, and then we're there's nobody out there. But I know you've done parts of the Arizona Trail. Any pointers? Any tips?
I mean, I'll be fair. I did like 3 days in December, but Darwin took Plug It In Hikes and I to what he said was probably the most variety in a span that short. And so we were out down by Tucson, and
okay,
it was pretty interesting, man. I've never hiked in a desert like that.
Yeah.
And so the weather, it was December, but the high during the day was probably 70, but it was a peculiar feeling to me. The sun was like beating down, but it wasn't like hot, right? It was like decent, and I wasn't sweating, but it was like I could feel the sun like taking my energy, even though like the temperature wasn't. It was I'm from Florida. I mean, I've hiked in the same temperatures, but it's humid and you're sweating but it was just a whole nother thing. You're a lot of exposure, and the exposure hit me in a way that I've never been hit before. But the landscapes are beautiful. Oh man. And just like walking past like the saguaro, like cacti and all that. It was like I'd never been anywhere like that. So it was awesome.
Yeah, I was excited to go there. I don't know. We have our backup plan is to still backpack, but drive somewhere. So that's like the contingency scenario. So another thing I want to talk to you about is how did you get in with Zpacks?
Yeah.
Like how'd that all happen?
There's definitely dogs.
Dude, this
But no, I would say so. There's always that thing where you can fortunate. Sometimes you're in the right place at the right time.
Right.
But I have a flip side to that belief. Is like you have to put yourself in the right place too. Like you're usually not somewhere on accident. But so in this case, it was me and one of my first buddies I started backpacking with. we were figuring out this idea of getting lighter and how to be lighter. And so he like one day sends me a link. He's like, hey, there's this material called Cuban fiber. And he's like, this company makes some stuff. This company makes some stuff. This company, you can buy some of the fabric, because at the time Zpacks was still selling the fabric. I mean, we did until a couple years ago. So I look, and I'm looking at the website, and I scour it, and I know, he was in upstate New York or whatever. And I was like, all right, whatever. And so I could forget about it. And then I was gonna do that trip on the Appalachian Trail, my first trip up there, and I was inviting all my friends down here. I was like, come on, you got to do it.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. And then I was gonna put together like a PowerPoint type presentation on why they should try to like approach it in a lightweight. So I went back to the Zpacks website.
Wait, you built a PowerPoint for your pre-trip planning?
Well, there's a reason why my name's detailed. So anyway, so I was going through that, and I wanted to use some of the pictures from Joe's site, because he had some funny pictures that would go along. And so I went back, and I noticed he moved to the next town south of me. And at the time, it was just him and his wife. They had just gone full time. Like, they just got off the CDT in November, and this was probably like April or May, right? And so they'd only a couple months been full time, just moved to Palm Bay. So I was like, hey, can I just come over and like take you out to lunch while they'll pick your brain? And at the end, they asked me if I wanted a job, and I was like, doing what?
Really?
And they're like, sewing. Yeah, they're like, sewing. And I was like, I don't know how to sew. And he's like, we'll teach you. And I had, so this was 2010, right? 2010. And I had basically like a year and a half before that been laid off, or not laid off. The company I worked for went out of business because I was doing like architectural design for a company, whatever, for a construction type thing. And so the housing bubble burst and like whatever. So I was kind of just like in between trying to figure it out. I was like, whatever, dude, I'll sew. And then, we started growing. And then I went from sewing to like managing people, and then like growing. And then, so like I said, I was the third person, like the first outside hire. And now we're like at 130, like some people, and like we've moved shop after shop after shop. So it's just been a hell of a ride.
Wow.
But it was literally, I reached out. I was like, hey, can I talk to you and ask you some questions? Let's go out to lunch. And then like they randomly offered me a job, which was weird to me. And
it was a job interview and you didn't know it. How many years did you sew for?
How many years did I sew? How did I sew regularly? Probably 3 years. I was like sewing in some capacity. Like it went from like, obviously helping make everything. Then we slowly got people. And then when we could break into divisions, I was leading the backpack division. And then, so when Joe went to do the Te Aurora, then that's when they put me in charge while they through hike the Te Aurora. And ever since then.
So how are you handling these 130 employees during times like this? What's going on with that?
I mean, it's super tough. I mean, obviously right now, industry across the board, unless you're food service or medical supplies or food food service or medical supplies, everybody's just taking super big hits, and we're no different. So it's just a matter of like trying to keep everything flowing as much as we can. I've been having marketing meetings, which is like my job, right? But I've been having marketing meetings like all day, every day for, the last week and a half or so, just trying to figure out how to do it while still being respectful of the environment, right? It's like it's weird to be like, hey, today 3.3 million people applied for unemployment this week. Give me money. Give me money. Like, hey, so that dynamic is very difficult. So try to be tasteful, but we're talking about producing like content that's helpful. Like really, it's about supporting the community the best we can right now, because I'm a hiker too. Like I want to, just like you guys, you want to go on that hike in May, right? And it's just like the unknown of it. And if you needed a piece of gear right now, would you buy that piece of gear without knowing? It's like, so it's a tough time, for in general. I mean, I really, I'm of the opinion that, you know, the more companies, especially in the ultralight space that we have, the more innovation you're going to get.
Yeah.
Right.
And that in turn helps the whole community as a whole, right? And so it's like, I hope that, you know, everybody can make it to the other side of this and stay viable. You know, it's like, I don't want to say any companies' names, but it was like I saw like one company in another country had to like at least temporarily lay off everybody
Yeah.
until situation gets better. Company here sent everybody home. Another company is like you talking about they're going to do their best, just like us, you know, and they're trying to, you know, create social distancing. It's like, but it's like, you know, it's tough, man. I think for everybody. I mean, when you see big companies failing and needing huge bailouts, just imagine our community,
Right.
the companies that serve it. Like, it's tough, man.
Yeah.
I never thought about this impact on the cottage vendor, because in my head I'm like, you know, business I'm sure is still down. I mean, people in general are just in, but like I didn't know if this would impact the backpacking gear community more so.
Well, people don't have as much expendable
but I didn't think,
income.
well, I didn't think about that, and I didn't think about people's trips being in jeopardy, and a lot of people buy gear specifically for trips. I didn't think about that at all.
Yeah.
That's definitely
so, I mean,
something.
Right now, yeah. So it's like instinctively you'd be like, oh man, all the thru hiking trails are closed right now. That's going to affect business, but it's not. If you're on a thru hike, you bought your gear already.
Right.
You already had that. So what you're seeing now, the people who, I'm assuming for all of the companies in the cottage industry, people who have that trip in May, June, July, August, who are like, dude, I don't know if I'm going to have a job, or I don't even know if I'll be able to go hike that.
Yeah.
Can I afford to drop money on premium gear right now? Like, is that the smart move? Is my wife not going to murder me if I do that? Like, you know, it's, and so that's what I think, you know, I think that's affecting us all right now. Yeah. Is like people in your position, like, honestly, you know,
we still buy stuff for our trips though.
As long as people are open and producing it,
Yeah, I know, but
we'll do our best. Yeah.
I didn't think. I honestly like. So when all this started going down, so this virus started to get known in January. I remember I'd gotten back from Disney World, and I was like, you know, it'll probably come here, but I had a little bit of faith in our federal government, which was misplaced.
You can't stop.
And then they banned travel from Wuhan. I'm like, oh, that's good. But then at that point, it had already been here, and then shit got real for us last Sunday when our governor was like, all right, everyone's home. And he did that before New York did that.
Yeah.
He did that, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I didn't think. I mean, I don't know, man. It's a movie. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and we've been saying this to other people too, in all the conversations we have, is like when the dust settles from this and things start to get better,
There'll
like
be pent-up demand.
Yeah, like make sure you remember like all these small businesses out there that support whatever hobbies you have,
and there's going to be pent-up demand for sure.
Yeah.
When this springs loose, I don't know when that is, but people are going to still do those backpacking trips for sure.
Yeah.
It might be later in the year, but I think there's definitely going to be, and that might be something that'd be interesting for companies like Zpacks. Like, can you handle like a mass influx of orders when this does come out, you know? Is that something you guys have thought about?
No, so thank you for bringing that up. No, but like, no, so you got to balance running lean enough to stay in business,
right?
But then, like having enough, and that's going to be tough for everybody. And like as you were saying that, I was thinking about, you said the people who already have backpacking trips planned. Then I thought to myself, what about people who have been thinking about backpacking forever?
Yeah.
And now they're like they're a prisoner in their own home.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna plan a trip that they hadn't planned because they're like, the second the outside opens, I'm gonna be in it.
See, I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
I just like I've heard a lot of companies that have like specifically like closed down shop or laid off people simply so they can get access to unemployment benefits like as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And it's just like I just don't know like how much time like companies can survive on like reserves. And then I mean you guys are gambling on the fact that once this is done, like things are just gonna like go right back to normal. It's tough. I don't know.
Do you see Florida? Florida has not done a shutdown of non-essential businesses, correct?
Yeah, that we haven't done anything.
Right.
For the most part, yeah. Our governor he's not too excited about the idea of doing anything.
Yeah.
I can see that from the little I've seen of his press conference. That is the opposite of our governor, and we have a very conservative governor, which is interesting. Very Republican, very conservative, but he shut down. Now, a couple of things. He shut down essential quote unquote businesses on Monday of this week. But if you actually look at the list of what is essential,
Manufacturing related stuff.
it was pretty generous. Like,
Yeah, and that's the thing. So I'm because I'm part of the steering committee at work, which is like the heads of a lot of different divisions, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things I did the other day because we have a morning meeting and about what's the COVID-19 highlights?
Yeah.
What are we looking at? And so one of the things I did is I looked at every single state that had not like a shelter in place, and then I looked, and so most states there's a federal guideline that they've established at what essential and non-essential is,
Yeah.
and like straight manufacturing isn't in there.
Yeah.
But some states are making up their own, right? Like Maine's shelter in place. They said manufacturing is like part of it as essential, and then like you said that.
Yeah.
So it's like if our governor even figures out how to shut down a state, what's going to fall into that. And our county that I live in particular is all government contractors. Like
Okay.
it is manufacturing. It's Harris, Northrop Grumman,
Oh,
Rockwell. Like we're building bombs and missiles and
Yep.
like navigation systems for like helicopter. Like we're in the space program is here. So that, like a lot of what we do is like government funded manufacturing. So like it'd be really hard for anybody who's a Republican conservative who's all about big business and making sure things are going to be the one to pull the trigger, I think.
Yeah. We basically what Ohio did was they took the federal list of things that are essential, and then they tacked on like 10 different, literally the only stuff that I can, and I'm in the process of building a house, which is going to be done in like days. So I read that thing the second it came out because I wanted to know how this impacted home construction. And literally in Ohio, the only thing that is not essential is literally certain types of retail stores.
Yeah.
That's like walk-in retail, like Nordstrom and TJ Maxx. Seriously, is the only thing that falls under non-essential. So I think given where you guys are at in the manufacturing space, hopefully if Florida copies what some of these other states are doing, hopefully that doesn't like shut you guys down.
This might be inappropriate to ask, but like,
Nice. What is it?
yeah, we can edit this out if you want.
That's my favorite lead-in.
Yeah. Like the employees that you have, are they the type of employees for the most part that are like keep us in business as long as possible? I want to receive a paycheck, or are they like, I need to be at home because I'm freaked out about COVID-19?
That's a good question.
I mean, I would say, I obviously got to be careful with what I say here anyway, because you're right. That was an audacious question.
Yes,
but
I went for
but
it.
I'll answer it.
He went for it.
So I would say that our employee base is a carbon copy of the United States. You got young, you have old, you've got people who don't care, all they want is a paycheck. You got people who are like, they live with their grandma and like she's got or like whatever. You've got everybody, right? So I think you have a wide range. If I had to guess, though, if I was just guessing, like I would say most people are more concerned about just getting a full paycheck,
Okay.
right? To even for me, not the paycheck, but it's a sense of normalcy, right?
Yeah.
You come to work, you put in your 8 hours every day, you get your paycheck every other Friday. You know, it's because I was having a real hard time last Saturday, you know, because I'm just, my head's in it all the time for work. I have to be keeping up to date, and it's just like the roads are closing. The vibe when you go to the grocery store is just different,
it's
right?
crazy.
Yeah, and like, so I was just craving normalcy. I mean, yeah, and like we're a state that gets hurricanes all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like we are actually like professional panic buyers.
Yeah.
Like we do it. We do it almost every year, right? But it's like, okay, we go, we push each other out of the way, we get what we need, we stock up to have enough for a week or 2 weeks. Then we know within like a day or two, we're gonna get hit by a hurricane, or maybe get hit by a hurricane. The power goes out. We know how to live without power.
Yeah.
And then whatever, a week, 2 weeks later, everything's normal. And like this panic, the vibe on the street is like unlike anything I've ever felt. It's weird.
Well,
People are getting ready to stab each other over toilet paper.
No, and I appreciate you answering that too, because people need to understand what these businesses are, what you guys are going through, and how you have to deal with this type of thing. So,
it's crazy. All right. Another thing I want to talk to you about, and we had Chris, who owns Light AF, in here like a month ago, and we talked to him about this, and this is something I really like talking to manufacturers about. What is to you, what is like some of the biggest, or is going to be some of the biggest innovations in the ultralight space going forward? Like, what do you see? Like, what do you see as being? I know we're getting off coronavirus here for a second.
No.
But I think there's no better person to talk to than someone like you. Like, what do you see as the next biggest thing? Or like, what do you think? Or like anything Zpacks is doing, or like anything like that?
Okay. It's a good question. So I would say, from my perspective, for a long time, there wasn't much, in my opinion, like fundamental innovation that happened in backpacking for a long time. Right. And then you got the late the late 80s, 90s, you got like the Ray Jardines, like make your own stuff kind of use. So now we went from these big external frame backpacks to people experimenting with like lightweight gear, frameless packs. And then that led into Glenn Van Pesky in the very beginning of Gossamer Gear, early 2000s. And like, he kind of like took that and like that spirit or approach, in my opinion, and kind of like turned that into, you know, like a business that served the community, right? And then I think even then, though, it was still nylon stuff. Even the beginning of Zpacks was still nylon stuff. And then I think really there was a big change when you started getting like Dyneema composite fabric. And then some people would argue, you know, the X-Pack, you know, was another addition. The Robic was another addition to that, where you started to get durable, lightweight fabrics. And it wasn't even necessarily the designs that were being innovative. It was the weights you were able to achieve. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like a material revolution, right? You know, even our Arc Blast backpack, I don't want to like sell it short. It's got like 2 patents on it, but essentially, you know, it is an external frame pack. That's not new. We took a little different twist on how we got there, and like using different materials to make it light, right? So I think right now we're looking at, people are looking for alternative materials always. Like we are too. We'd be stupid not to, right? So like, but I don't think you're gonna see. Anything you see will be so microscopic in terms of like weight savings there, which you still need to explore, right? But I don't know, like how many different ways can you make a tent? Like, you know, people have been making tents for years. Like, you know, how many different ways can you carry something on your back? You know, we're constantly going. Actually, I'll share it here first.
SBO exclusive.
So yeah, we're working on a pack, basically, a totally different, replicating what happens when you wear the Arc Blast. Yeah. But getting there in a different way that will like substantially save weight.
Okay.
So There's my wife over there. She can't see her, but she's pretty.
Hey,
Hey.
shout out to Mrs. Favero. Favero? Shout out.
Favero.
Favero.
Yeah.
Hope
She's the one who's going to give me the Rona-virus.
I was gonna say, hopefully she's. Do you guys like feel okay?
I wish I was feeling. Oh, I mean, yeah, I got you. Hey.
yeah. I meant like physically symptoms.
No, I understand. But yeah. So yeah, but anyway, so we're working on a pack that replicates what happens with the arc glass, but with like less components and a lighter weight. And because there's less components and webbing to accompany those existing components, it'll weigh in substantially less. So I mean, we are innovating. We got a lot of stuff actually in the pipeline. We're not going to stop it either.
Right.
Like we're almost to market with at least like 5 to 7 things right now.
Yeah, that's
like
awesome.
This was going to be, this is the year of innovation for us. Like in terms of creating new things and just creating new things and kind of pushing our limits.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff is our take on stuff. Some of it is actually like, oh, that's not a product that exists, and we really have a lot of stuff going on.
No, I definitely.
Sweet.
That's my favorite part, actually.
That's a bombshell dropping 5 to 7 things in the pipeline.
But like as far as like innovation goes, yeah, exactly.
We need damn it, we don't have a bombshell sound clip on here.
As I think you would definitely agree with me that as far as like pure innovation in like the cottage industry, like Zpacks is probably one of the leaders that's been around, like one of the central leaders that's been around for a while. No, I was just gonna say it seems to be like somebody comes out with an idea and then like other people kind of like latch onto that idea and then come out with their own versions of that. I don't know. I see that a lot.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you a lot, but I mean, like I said, at the same time, we didn't invent a backpack, right? So a lot of stuff, but I would say probably the thing that we did that I would say that we really did first, we were the first company to really go all in on Cuban fiber, which became that like we were the first company to be like, this is what we're going to use. Like, and if you go back, it's still there on the Backpacking Light forums, and you read what these old timers were saying about Cuban fiber. It'll never last. It's not good. Nobody will ever. And it's like, and it's just,
Jokes
how many
on them.
got to complete a through hike?
Yeah. What is can you talk us through like the product creation life cycle? Like how long does it take?
Yeah, how much testing do you do?
Testing. I mean, you don't have to give away your brand secrets, but like, what is that? Because Andy and I are super into gear, and we think gear in general is very cool, and I'm very into like the genesis of how does it work. So is there an idea come up, and then like what happens next?
So traditionally, this is the best way to start. Traditionally, Joe developed everything from the very beginning. That's how it always worked, and it's usually. The way the company started was scratching his own itches, right? Like he's like, I want this. It either doesn't exist or everything that exists sucks. So I'm going to make my own. Yeah. Right. That's usually how it started. But so we just came out with that Free Duo tent. It took 3 years. Joe messed around with that thing for 3 years. And what's funny is every single version that I saw, I was like, I hate it. I don't like it. This is just, if the duplex wasn't as good, and he just kept toiling and toiling and toiling, and then like what was it, in like December or January or something like that, he shows up at the shop with the latest version and he sets it up, and I was like, boom! Like I was like, I'm excited about this. Like you finally, like there you go. Like I've always hated this, and now all of a sudden you just threw down something that I can like fully get behind and I believe in, and it was like awesome. But it took 3 years, right? Yeah. And so it's like, but sometimes it takes, and I'm not even kidding, this was especially like 4 to 5 years ago, like we would get an idea and like by the end of the day it would be on the website. Like we would literally get the idea, like for something small, not like huge. We get an idea, we'd literally cut it out, make 3 or 4 versions of it, Joe would throw it down on the sidewalk outside of the shop, take a picture with his phone, and put it up on the like, so it's like sometimes it was 3 years, sometimes it was like 3 hours. Like it's been that way. But now, let's be fair. So now Joe develops and works on whatever he wants, and then we have a team, the CEO, myself, and we actually have a lady who's our product development coordinator. And basically what we do is like, we're like, okay, we want something like this, and then these are the feature sets.
Oh.
We'll talk through what materials we want, and then we'll prototype on a soft Tyvek. And so the process, it's not super duper fast, but I mean, it moves pretty quick if we're all on top of it. But multiple people can bring up the idea. So like Joe, there's going to be a new unique piece of rain gear that we're going to be coming out with. You heard it here first.
We need that.
Oh, we're getting so many exclusives.
So there's a kind of unique piece of rain gear that we're going to be coming out with soon. I mean, it's basically ready. Joe's doing final approval on it now. But it was like he's like, I want this.
Is it a big hat?
He left
Is it like this big?
No.
The umbrella for your hat?
It's not.
Dang it.
It is not. But there's a part of me who wants to unveil this as part of the Samurai Joe collection.
It's a cape.
But anyway, so he left it to us, and like, I mean, I'm honestly really, really, it's kind of like, it's unique. And so if I explained it to you, you would think it was silly. But if I showed it to you, like, you'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so like, it was fun to walk through it and get to where it's at. I'm actually really proud of it. So I can't wait to launch that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's all, innovation is just so, it's just so awesome, just pushing the boundaries. And you know,
cool.
maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, I don't know, but like it's just cool to keep innovating.
Who primarily does most of the testing?
Depends.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy you asked. Like, I remember as you were talking, I remember I didn't say anything about the testing. So it depends what it is. You know, we do have some thru hikers work at the company. So when they're on thru hikes, we'll have them test some stuff. Sometimes it depends how much testing we feel it needs. Sometimes we'll test it like on our trips, you know. And then sometimes, here's a funny little anecdote for you. So we came out with our umbrella, right? And so we found a factory and we worked with them and to develop it and all this stuff, right? And so we have basically the golden sample in our hand, like, this is what we wanted, all right? So we take the Euro Swing Light Flex, which is like kind of the industry standard, and we take ours, all right? We go in the back parking lot, and our CEO has a Jeep, and he takes the top off the Jeep. I'm literally standing up in the Jeep, holding both umbrellas, driving into the wind.
Oh, that's cool.
We turn around like that, and then I'm holding the umbrellas where I'm like catching it like a sail, and
Yeah.
we're like literally side by side, head to head, videotaping the results and like and documenting the speeds and all that stuff. You know, because that's like it's silly, and the video is like funny.
Yeah.
It's super to see me like, but we put it like a head-to-head test, right? And it performed better in every scenario, right? And we're like, this is obviously a better product than the one that because we used to sell the Euro Swing, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, this is a better product than the product we were selling. It literally handles wind from every direction better, and so it was like, that's like a fun test, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like, so sometimes you can do something silly, sometimes. So there's you heard it here first.
Third one.
There's another product that I've kind of been, like a pet project. Like, I'm scratching my own itch here.
Yeah.
Calling it the Sub Nero backpack. So
Oh.
it's a 30 liter.
Okay.
And so we messed around with some other materials too, but it was the design of the backpack. So there's actually some fundamental changes to it. And like, so I was testing that in Europe. I tested that in the Art Lobe Trail. And then one of the designs we took from that, we made, I can't give you too much stuff,
Okay.
but we put it
Just a
into
little,
another pack
just a
that
little.
I won't name. But there's another pack that we were messing with that I won't name, but also we used one of the unique features from the Sub Nero in that, and then that was being tested on the Art Lobe. So it's just fun to go out and actually hike and put real miles and real situations on the gear. That's like my favorite.
What's the craziest product that you've tried to create that's just been a failure that never made it to the shelves?
Like you went out there and tested it and like, man, this just blows. Or you had to significantly rework it.
Yeah. Huh. I don't know if there is one.
Everything's been a hit.
Or like what?
No, I would say that the free duo tent was the one that like it just never hit. It took so long to hit the mark.
Yeah.
I mean, we got there, but like I feel like everything else has been like we just didn't. It wasn't something we wanted to make anyway, so we didn't make it. Like anything we truly wanted to make that we've messed around with has made it. I think.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever had a product that was just like we can't. Yeah. Okay. All right.
We got one.
Nice.
Way back to the garage. We did mess around with trying to do a DC or a Cuban fiber at the time, a Cuban fiber like hammock.
Really?
So we did try to do that way back in the day. Yes. And so that's the one thing that we messed with and made a couple iterations of that never actually did anything.
But
All
you
right,
just
there
sweat.
was I
Yeah, I was probably just sweating it the whole time.
Because first time I got a hammock, I'm like, I wonder if anyone's tried to make a Cuban hammock. Why did it? Why specifically was it so bad?
It doesn't breathe.
It doesn't breathe at all.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't stretch.
Yeah.
And it needs to breathe and stretch.
Yeah.
And two things that Cuban fiber by design does not do.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't want it to do that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I think we still have some hammock tarps, but we kind of shied away from doing that, doing hammock stuff in general because one there's great people out there doing it. Like why try to even compete? But it was like that's not us. We're not hammock campers.
Right.
So it's like our expertise doesn't fall there.
Yeah.
And it's like let people know what they're doing, mess with that, and we'll continue focusing on the stuff we know what we're doing.
That's smart.
Yeah,
That's smart.
That is smart. What so what is like the bread and butter products for Zpacks as far as sales go right now? Like what is everybody constantly buying?
I mean, top 10, the top. I mean, I just said top 11, right? Because I've been looking at this incessantly for the last week. Is like all of our tents are like in the top 10, and all of our backpacks are in the top 10, and then you got a rain jacket and a bear bagging kit. Like that's so basically tents and backpacks. Tents more so than the backpacks, but tents, backpacks, and our rain jacket and a bear bagging kit. Those things are killing it.
Is there a product that you feel is like underrated and people aren't paying enough attention to that people like that you're like you all sit around and shop like these are really awesome, like I don't understand why these haven't caught on yet?
That's a good question. We stumped him.
Well, no, you didn't stump me. I just figured I'm trying to figure you stumped my thought process of how I want to go about it. I would say I think the sleeping bags, we've made enough changes to the sleeping bags in the recent history where like they should be more popular than they are, but there's a lot of competition. I understand that. But I mean, honestly, they're head to head up to anybody's. But I'll give you a funny story about how something like that played out. Was the multi-pack. We've had the multi-pack ever since I've been in the garage, right?
Yeah, we have one.
Yeah, we have one.
Yeah. And almost no one bought it. It was such a low seller.
Really?
Just no one bought it. And then slowly over time, we didn't advertise it. We didn't market it. We didn't do anything. Over time, like this, it just became progressively more popular and progressively more popular. And to the point like where we were really selling a ton of them. And then when we came out with the FUPA, it kind of cannibalized
Yeah.
some of those sales, but now we're still selling both those really well. And funny side story, the FUPA goes all the way back to the garage as well. So you got to think we're talking
wow.
2010 or 11. We were joking that we should make a fanny pack, and then we should call it that, and then utility pack.
Yeah.
Okay. So we were joking about that, but nobody would wear a fanny pack in 2011.
Joke's on you.
And then all of a sudden, the fanny pack started coming into style, and then we were like, dude, now's the time.
Yeah.
And so the whole time we're developing this project in-house, we're calling it the FUPA, the front utility pack accessory. And I was just waiting for someone to be like, come to your senses and there's no way that you can release this product with this name. You cannot do it. I was just waiting for the day and no one did it. It made it onto the website with that name somehow. And, which I think is nice. It's like paying tribute to a very old idea.
That's actually hilarious.
Yeah. I think,
yeah.
One of the things about your sleeping bags too is like, I think you're one of the few, if not only, manufacturers of like a zip up bag too, right? Like an ultralight sleeping bag?
Like Feathered Friends makes them.
There may be a couple. I mean, that's the thing. Like, let's be fair. Like across the industry, there's a ton of great companies making similar products of great quality. So I mean, like, it's hard to be like you're the only one, or like, but you know, then you could always be like, well, this is a little different because like, you know, we were the first one that I know of, that I saw, that I was aware of.
Yeah.
Don't forget, you know, I haven't been around forever. That did have, like, you know, our classic, which was basically a quilt with a zipper. Right. That wasn't like a real popular thing. You know, now there's probably a few companies like making something similar. It's just a matter of like cut, materials, and fill.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and you know, it's like it's hard to separate. Like, that's what's going to get you the weight, right? It doesn't matter. It's like it's the material, it's the cut of the bag, and it's the fill power that you put in it. You know, and as long as your cut doesn't like horribly suck, like whatever company you are, like you're going to make a decent bag if you hit those three, you know, benchmarks.
Mm-hmm. We had this is another thing I wanted to ask you. We had Chad, who's part of Underground Quilts, on here a couple weeks ago, and something he talked to us about. Have you guys ever been approached by like big box retailers, like going into stores?
Yeah.
Is that's
my full answer? Yes.
Is that something you can talk about, or something that's going to happen, or like, are you guys going to set up a retail store or like anything like that?
Retail store, no.
Okay.
That's definitely, I could say no to that. You never say never.
Right.
So I'll say, you never say never. But I would follow that up with, I think for a lot of the American-made cottage industries, you just can't put, using state-of-the-art materials and American labor, you just can't put margins on things that make traditional big box stores make sense for most things.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, I'm saying most things, because I mean, some companies want more than 50 points. They want like 55%.
Really?
And it's like most cottage industries don't even have 55% built into their product to start with.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, you know, but you got to think if you're an REI, right, whatever, and you're selling a product, or I like to say widget, right? You're selling widget A, right? You know, widget A is made in China for a company in the United States. They're getting it made for whatever, you know, $50. They turn around, they sell it to REI for $100, and REI turns around and sells it for $200. You know, it's like everything's in. You know, that's all built in, and that's REI. That's retail in the United States for, you know, for all of eternity, right? And it's like, you're not. You know, I can't speak to anyone's margins other than our own. I can't share those, obviously. But I'm just saying, like there's just there's
Yeah.
no way to really make it worth your while for most products, I would say. And honestly, like, I don't know. That's I can't say Zpacks opinions. I can say my own opinion here.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, like when somebody sends you something cool on a text message, are they sending you to an REI site or an Amazon page? Or are they sending you to the company page, right? Because so many entrepreneurs in America, like what we're looking at now is like direct to consumer.
Yeah.
We got to a place where, you know, throughout retail history, there was all these middlemen taking cuts, and we've got to a place where globalism and the internet have kind of made them unnecessary.
Yeah.
And so it's like where we're going, I think, is just like a straight to consumer like kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you know, certain big box stores still have buying power.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's hard to say like, you know, big box store A can be like, hey, we're guaranteeing you'll sell 5 times more than you sell now.
Yeah.
You'll just make way less.
Right.
And you're like, well, that's more money still. You know?
Yeah. That's interesting.
That's a good point. I didn't think about it that way. You're right, because other people we've talked to have just been more taking from the stance of like, I built my business on being like, you know, small, you know,
direct to consumer,
but nobody's really talked about the margins. And of course they're going to want like, when you're talking about manufacturing costs and labor and everything like that, you're absolutely right. The margins start thinning out.
Yeah.
Like,
everyone's got to take their cut.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's the flip side to that too, is like in the industry, I mean, it depends on what company you are and what you're making, but like just say a Dyneema composite fiber tent. If you're not ready for that tent, you're going to destroy it, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know how to use it and you're not ready for it, you're going to hurt it. So like if you get it from a big box store or like a bigger online retailer who has a super liberal return policy, as a company that makes things that need a little more care, right? Like first off, you're not even making any money compared to normal, right, on the sale, and then you get charged back for that, and then you don't even get it to fix it. So it's like
that's a good point.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, how many, and it's different for everybody, but I just can imagine how many tents would you have to sell to cover just replacing one that was returned? Like, you know, they're like, you start to get in a loop of that game too.
Yeah. That's super interesting. So before we wrap up here, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned, cause you go on sweet trips to sweet places.
Yes.
And you mentioned Portugal this year, but do you got anything like cool? You go to cool places. So what's on the docket? I mean, coronavirus aside, what do you got on the docket this year?
Okay.
If you can share.
So, yeah, I will. I can do that for sure. But I just want to preface it with, I don't have the luxury of getting away for 5 or 6 months to through hike the AT.
Right.
Sure.
I know. So you're like everybody else out there. Yeah, I know.
So I get 2, max 3 weeks. And so the way I used to go do section hikes of the AT, but like it just wasn't fulfilling like that. Like it was just such a long process. You get into a section that's a long green tunnel. It wasn't fulfilling as section hike.
Yeah.
So what I do is I try to do the most bang for my buck.
For sure, dude.
Yeah,
Wow,
absolutely.
for sure.
Absolutely.
So I do go to sweet places because like I have to make the most of it. Like
absolutely, man. That's like our mantra.
Yeah. You're similar to like 90% of the YouTube backpacking community.
Gotta bang for your buck, man. So where are you going?
So anyway, so that's it. So the Rota Vincentina was supposed to be in June, but obviously, I mean, it's canceled. I mean, even though it's not, technically it is. But what's been on the radar, and I have hope for still in September, is the GR20 in Corsica.
Okay.
Wow. It's like 112 miles, and it runs the spine of the mountain range in Corsica.
That's sweet.
It's been on my radar for a long time. It's called the quote unquote toughest hike in Europe. Although I've heard people be like, I've heard people have been like, that's not true, but that's how they bill it. There's like sections where if you literally just type in GR20 in Google and then click images, you can see there's just there's sections that are like rock with chains, and you're like literally pulling yourself up
Oh
with like a chain.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So
sweet.
it's pretty cool. That's on my list. And then next year, next September, it's supposed to be the Annapurna circuit. That's been on my list for a long
nice.
time. But that's like three solid weeks. So man, it just takes forever to get there.
That's sweet, man.
But,
You've given us some good ideas for later when we can. We haven't knocked off all the stuff in the U.S. we want to do, but you give us good ideas for all the Europe, like all the sweet stuff, because you know.
So my goal usually this year is a little different because I have to burn through some vacation time, but is like one sweet domestic, one sweet international. That's kind of what I'm trying. Because like Wonderland Trail's on my list.
Yeah, that's been on our list for a long time.
Yeah, there's Three Sisters Loop, the Trans Catalina Trail. Like there's so much like in the U.S. still too. Yeah.
Have you ever been to Colorado?
I haven't
hiking Colorado Trail. Put that on your domestic list. It's awesome. All right, man. Thank you so much for talking to us.
It's been over an hour.
It's been over an hour. It goes fast, doesn't it?
I could talk to you guys all day.
We'll do
part two.
We'll do a part two. It was really cool for us to like get this behind the scenes look at the operations side of what you do at Zpacks, and
especially how the current environment is affecting the business, and
it's Andy and I are both in operations at our company, so it's cool for us to see that.